Hi, my name is Eric Olson, Director of HELPS. I'm going to do a little video about internet or overseas payday loans. I'll do another video about local payday loans, but this particular video is about internet or overseas payday loans. If you Google overseas payday loans, there's going to be advertisements. And where you get a payday loan over the internet, and you send the information. They're going to send you a check. You're going to give them your bank information, and you're going to have to pay back the loan at a horrendous interest rate. Now, I'm the director of HELPS. We represent seniors that are on Social Security, pensions, disability. That money is protected by federal law. It can't be taken from them, can't be garnished. And we represent our clients generally are lower income seniors, debt they can't afford to pay. And we represent them under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act as their attorney. So collectors have to communicate with us, not them. The law says if you have an attorney, the collector can no longer call you on the phone or send you demand letters. They have to communicate with the attorney, and that's what we do. We represent seniors in all 50 states who have debt they can't afford to pay to stop the collectors from harassing them. It's a big problem. Nearly half of seniors over 65 have incomes within 200% of the poverty line, and they retire in more debt than ever before. And a lot of them might get into problems and turn to a payday loan, and maybe a payday loan over the internet. Okay? And a lot of these payday loans, the reason they're located overseas, some of them are located on Indian reservations. The reason they do that is they can break the law without being sued. How are you going to sue some guy in Russia or England or France or wherever they're at? And also under the law, Indian reservations are technically separate nations, and it's virtually impossible to sue anyone there that violates the law. So there's a law called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act that prevents creditors from doing certain actions in trying to collect the debt. And so one of the reasons these payday loan places set up overseas or on the internet where they can't be tracked is that it makes it virtually impossible for them to be sued. Therefore, they can violate the law to their heart's content in attempts to collect money that people owe for old payday loans. They'll threaten arrest. They'll threaten you're going to jail. We're going to sue you. We're going to take this from you and everything. Everything they say is a complete and total lie. Okay? First off, remember, for seniors, your income's protected. No one can garnish it. I don't care who they are. They cannot take if you were to sue, they cannot file writ of garnishment and take your Social Security. And this is an interesting thing about internet and overseas payday loans. They'll never sue you. No. They'll say they will. They'll call you unmercifully and, try to shake you down and scare you. But they can't afford to sue you because, number one, they're overseas or they're somewhere else, and they'd have to hire a local attorney. They'll never do that. There's not enough money involved. Second, if they were to sue you, they could be counterclaimed for violating a bunch of different laws. So instead, they just rely on intimidation to get people to pay. Now, if you have a payday loan that's overseas, or any payday loan for that matter, but one of these type of loans I'm talking about, and you can't afford to pay it, you don't need to pay it. You can stop paying it. You want to make sure they don't have access to your checking account. So if they have your routing number, you'd want to close that account and get a new checking account with a new routing number that they don't have access to. Never give it to them. Otherwise, they'll break the law in attempts to get money out of your bank account if they have access to your banking numbers. You don't need to speak with them. If they call on the phone, you can hang up, terminate your calls with them. You don't need to talk to them. What we do is, for people that owe money to collectors, we send letters to the collectors advising we represent the person, and it's called a cease and desist letter. And under the law, the collector can no longer communicate with the client. They have to leave them alone. They can no longer call them or send them letters. They communicate with us instead. Well, with an internet or overseas payday loan, they're going to ignore that letter that we send them. They don't care because they know we can't sue them. So instead, they're going to keep calling our client. So for clients that enroll with HELPS that have payday loans that are on the internet or overseas, we tell them they just have to ignore these communications from these payday loan places. They will eventually stop bugging you. Okay, then they'll go on to greener pastures. Okay, but there's nothing I can do or anyone can do to stop them from attempting to contact you. The best remedy is to never communicate with them, because if you communicate with them, they know all the little tricks to get in your head, to manipulate you, to get you scared and worried and upset, or to try to get money from you in any way at all. So don't pay them. If you've got a relative that you've given them the contact information, give them the same information, not to communicate with them. They call on the phone, just hang up immediately. And like I said, they'll eventually stop. I'm going to do another video about regular payday loans, why you don't need to pay those. They cannot take your money. They could sue you, but they can't do anything about it. They're just like any other creditor. You have a contract, and part of the contract provides that you can default on the contract. They have remedies. You're not breaking the law. You're not any criminal problems for not paying that debt. It's a civil matter. It has nothing to do with you being a bad person. It's just life. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. If you got any more questions, you can call HELPS toll free at 855-435-7787 and visit our website, www.helps with an S at the end, helpsishere.org. We're all over the internet, and we don't turn anyone away. We're glad to answer your questions, and if you need our help, we're glad to provide that. You have a great day.